Welcome to Pranic Talk TV. This is Elitam Alamin.
And Shana Dean.
Enjoy the show.
Hi, boys and girls. It's the Melon Man here. And today I've got Shana.
Shana.
Sorry, Shana Dean. And I have come to know Shana Dean online just more recently over the last 6 or 8 months. I've been following you. I kind of got to knowledge of you from my mentor, Elitam Alamin, my pranic mentor, runs Prana TV with you. And I've been a viewer of your episodes and I really love your show. So I wanted to make sure I spent an opportunity to reach out to you and introduce myself and get to know you a little bit better, more personally. I looked you up a little bit. I saw that your history is, you're an energy worker, you're a Reiki master and teacher. You've had weight loss coach in your past, but now you're more into it seems like more the spiritual end of it. You're a spiritual mentor and a pranic coach. Like Elitam, my teacher in this lifestyle. So I wanted to make sure I made contact with you today and just let you talk a little bit about what it is that you're doing, you and Elitam on Prana TV, why it's so important to you. How did you get into this? Why are you telling people that they shouldn't eat?
Right. Well, first of all, we're not necessarily telling people they shouldn't eat. It's the whole lifestyle. It's very holistic. And that's really important. Fasting is part of that. So you ran so many questions by me. So let's see, where should I start?
Well, tell me first, how did you get into this? What led you to this pranic lifestyle?
That's a great question. It's been a life process. I learned how to meditate when I was 7. I grew up in an ashram. And so I've had a very deep spiritual life since childhood. And I've always been very intuitive and very sensitive as a child and growing up. And I've also been interested in diet, nutrition, and cooking. Those have been my main, let's say, passions my whole life. So at a very young age, in my early 20s, I got into, helping people lose weight and coaching people with nutrition. So this has been a lifelong thing.
And that's a lot of people that reach out to me are generally trying to lose weight, trying to get in better shape. And I always like to remind people that weight gaining is really just a symptom of poor health beginning in the body. Weight gain can be one of the very first things that happen. Symptoms can be weight gain, symptoms could be digestive issues, symptoms could be sleep issues, anxiety, depression, skin conditions, headaches. I mean, there's just so many symptoms that people start to get where they start to demonstrate illness beginning in the body before there really is a disease or a diagnosis. But, weight gain is just one of the symptoms of poor health starting to happen in the body.
Yeah, and an unbalance in a lot of different areas, like if someone's experienced some kind of trauma in their life or, and sometimes it is located right in the digestive system. If there's an imbalance in the gut flora, that can cause a lot of food cravings. And then, of course, being overweight causes a whole slew of health issues, like you just mentioned. So, yeah, it can be physical, mental, emotional. Whole food as medication. And that's one reason why I like the pranic lifestyle, is because it goes into so many parts of the life and heals it on so many different levels. So of course you're going to lose weight. I mean, yes, you're fasting, you're eating lighter, you're eating less, but you're healing deep traumas and things from the past. And you're just coming more in tune with your true self and more in alignment with your higher self. And this is another reason why I am interested in Reiki, because Reiki does the same thing. So let me back up a little bit here. So I went from diet and nutrition, and then from there I discovered raw food, probably, I think it was back in 2004. And I was completely swooped away with it. I just love the idea that you could eat healthy foods and make it delicious, because I really liked to cook. And so I became a raw food chef, and I taught culinary classes professionally. And so that's been a big part of my life, is the raw food. From there, I moved into teaching Reiki and energy work, because it just is a natural progression. When you start lightening up your diet, especially if you go raw, you start noticing that you become more intuitive. You're more tuned in to the unseen world. Things just start opening up for you, and you become more hooked into synchronicities and things like that. At least that was the case for me. I know a lot of people feel that way. So it's a very natural progression then to dive more deeply into energy work. And that came into my life. It was supposed to be that way. And definitely one of my great life callings. And one thing I find with Reiki, for those of you who aren't familiar, you receive attunements. You're attuned with various Reiki symbols. And with every attunement, it's like your energy of your system, your pranic body, is refined and lightened, and it really does shift you into your higher self, let's say. So it shifts you right into your more higher purpose, into your higher purpose. So what I mean by that is things that are in your life that are not serving your highest good will naturally fall away. And the things that are more in alignment with your true calling and your true purpose will come into your life, and it creates a shift. Now, I've been doing Reiki and practicing it as a teacher in private practice here. I do hands-on work and also globally around the world for about 12 years now. And I didn't know it, but all of this has laid the foundation for where I am now in pranic conscious. And the diet, also tapping into energy work, because being a pranic breatharian really is being an energy worker. And oh, there you are.
So I want to just kind of work with what you've already shared with me. You started off with a very young age with meditation.
Right.
So you see a link here between meditation and energy work and the breatharian lifestyle and the pranic lifestyle. There's a link there. Meditation is a big part of that.
It's not just a link, it truly is the foundation. I mean, that's a necessary component. And meditation can look, it takes different, how should I say this? There's different ways you can meditate, right? I initially learned how to do silent meditations. So I'm really good at dropping into that space of no mind. Most people who don't have the experience I do might have a trouble with that. So they might prefer a guided meditation or doing energy running. And that's what I provide now. During this time when we're all sheltered in, I'm providing global pranic meditations that are offered free online for anyone who wants to join. And I take people through different energy running practices so we can send out love and light and energy. And what that also does is not just as a prayer for the world and for humanity, but it really helps clear your energy systems, your chakras, your meridians, and it just creates more magnetism and more heart-centered. And that is the key to pranic nourishment. It's dropping into your heart, and it's running your energy in a way where it's more full and loving, and it's so hard to articulate because it's such a feeling, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's a feeling space. It's getting into that that free, soft, gentle, peaceful place inside of ourselves. So is that being in the prana? Is that what prana is?
Well, prana, I mean, I don't know if you've studied any of the yogic saints or philosophers, but prana is the very thing that keeps us alive. Prana is in everything. So without prana, I would not be sitting here talking to you, right? Yogananda says that you can take a dead body and you can give it food and you can give it water and you can give it air, but it's not going to come back to life, right? So it's prana. That's the thing that's keeping us alive. And when you're working, and prana is energy, right? So prana is just another
So it's
word
like
for,
life force energy. Prana is like life force energy. It's like chi.
right. It's chi, it's ki as in Reiki, it's just universal life force energy.
It's
Um,
love.
it's pure
It's
love.
pure
Yeah.
love. It's God.
Mm-hmm.
It's soul.
Yeah.
Soul. It's spirit.
It's amazing. It's the thing that we really want to have more of in our bodies and in our lives, you know.
It's our
And
highest frequency. It's
when
our highest vibration.
it's not only that, but it's our true essence, right? So when we're dropping into that calm heart space, that love frequency, right? If you can hook into that, you're more in alignment with your true essence. And the way to get there, yes, meditation is a huge part of that, because you're quieting your mind, you're stilling the body, anxieties, stresses, and worries are melting away, at least for that moment, right? And the more you do it, the more you can fall into that state with such grace and ease.
So it's a practice then. So the more you can do it, the more you repetitively you practice it, the better and more efficiently you come at coming into that space, the better knowledge you have of that space, the greater knowing you have of yourself, this being your true self. The more you practice spending time with yourself, the better relationship you have with it.
Yes, but I wouldn't say you have better knowledge, because it's not really about the mind at all. You have a better feeling. So what happens is the more time you spend with it, the more it becomes part of you. And how should I put it? When I always say your meditation isn't over until you hit that sweet spot where you feel bliss, where you feel love. Like it just, it's just, it just overtakes you, and it's so beautiful. So you sit with it, you open up your heart. You know, Saint Teresa of Avila, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's a Catholic saint who was known to levitate because she would just go into these raptures during her meditation. This is well documented. And people would ask her, what do you do in meditation? And her answer was, I just allow myself to be loved. That's it. So you just open your heart, and when you can feel that, when you can tap into that, the more frequently you do it, when you now sit down to meditate, you get right into that feeling. You don't have to work an hour of wrestling with your thoughts to get there. You just get there right away.
So
And
with
then,
practice, with rehearsal, but of working on our energy, lifting up our frequency, lifting up our vibration, we come in closer resonance to that energetic footprint all of the time, and therefore it's a little easier to shift into and out of it. So then we can be in it more often.
yes, and that's the key, because there will come a point where you don't have to meditate and you can drop right into that space, into that state. So the whole idea is you want to be heart-centered and in that space, in that state. That is your true essence. The more you can be connected to that and your true essence, the easier the pranic path is. When you're in that state, food naturally falls away. You don't have to say, oh, I'm going to fast for the next 3 days. No, you just gently don't need as much. You don't have to think about it or try for it.
So then it's not really about forcing any longer. It's not really about pushing away the food. It just goes away because you're starting to focus more on just feeling and sensing the energy.
Yes, exactly.
So it's an awareness of that prana. It's an awareness of feeling of that space. It's a knowledge of that space that grows through a daily practice. And as we practice it, we become more aware of it. We have a better relationship with it. We can find it more easily, and then we can slip into it more often. And then we're meeting more of our life engaged with that type of energy. So we're engaging our life with a higher frequency more often, a greater consciousness more often.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's perfect what you just said. Yeah.
So that's what is that what you would call the pranic lifestyle?
That's a big part of it. That is a huge part of it. Of course, there's the dietary part, but that's the foundation.
So there's a mental bit, there's a psychological bit, there's a managing the mind, there's a spending time in that space, There's even maybe even when you're talking about the mental bit, you can't dismiss the words, because thoughts are thunk as words, right? They're words in our head. So we got to think them, and then we got to say them.
And we have to be careful with what we think and what we say, because science is now proving that spoken words, language, actually changes the light photons around us and within us. It creates reality. So if you're thinking or saying things that put yourself down, or that's negative about the condition of the world, or whatever it is, that's a prayer. That really is changing the environment. So we have to be really mindful of what we think and what we say. And we have to go back into our old programming, because we've been taught from childhood, if you don't eat, you're not going to be strong. If you don't eat, you're not going to build muscle. If you don't eat, you're not going to be healthy, or you're going to die, right? That's like the background stuff. So we have to really work on reprogramming that and believing, no, I'm actually healthier when I'm eating less. And I'm so glad that the science is out to support that, you know?
Yeah, the science is out there, but as much as it is out there, it's buried and hidden under a much louder scientific voice, unfortunately. And the way science works, and we all know that, is for every study that you can find on one side, you can find another on the other side. So, you know, it's hard to rely on science alone, for sure, because the debate goes on depending on which doctor you're referred to. I think we have to become natural scientists and do a little bit of scientific research with our own self to determine for our own self what is right for ourselves, isn't?
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, it's good to have a teacher, but it's also good to really learn to trust yourself as your own teacher. And we as a society haven't really been taught to do that. We've been taught to go outside of ourselves to look for answers instead of going within. And this is another reason actually why a meditation practice is so useful, because it allows you to go in. And when you're in that silent place, you can touch in with your intuition. You can get answers. You can connect with what's really right for you. And I do encourage people along this path to really listen to their bodies. You know, be mindful if you have thoughts that might be, let's say, thwarting your efforts, right? Because we do have thoughts that do that. However, quieting the mind and really touching in with, does this feel good in my body? Do I really want to fast that extra day? Is it making me feel sick? Am I in balance doing this? You know, am I being too strict? Is this gentle? This path should be gentle and easy and loving. And it's really all about loving yourself and trusting yourself and looking within and less without, you know.
So going into to get our energy, connecting to the energy inside of the self, this is the pranic lifestyle.
Yes. Yeah.
Finding that loving prana energy inside of the self. And it's something that we can step into with day-to-day practice. Foundational practice includes meditation, so some stillness time, some conscious breathing time, some awareness of breath, some settling down with the breath.
I'm a huge fan of breath work and pranayama, huge. I find the more breath work I do regularly and consistently, and I like to combine it with meditation. In fact, I don't remember which saint said this, yogic saint, but they said if you do breath work and then just get up and do something else, it's like filling up a bucket and then kicking it over. You want to really, really utilize that gorgeous energy that you just created and brought into your body, and then go into a meditation. So there's things called pranayama, is just breath work in the yogic tradition. So you do pranayama, you go right into your meditation. The same thing with yoga. You do your yogic asanas so you can sit longer and go right into your meditation. So everything is built right along with the meditation. And what I find with pranayama and breath work is that the more you do it, you find the less you need of everything. Food, belongings, your attachments just seem to kind of melt and roll away.
People, places, things. You start to depend less on what's going on around you and more on what's happening within you.
Yeah, you're just what's happening within you and the greater you, your soul, and also the collective unified, soul. You're more connected to, I would call it your super consciousness,
So, I mean, we got to look at our bodies as moving beyond just the physical. We are physical bodies, and you talked about that. We have to do the exercise with yoga. So there's a breath work aspect to this. There's a movement aspect to this where you're stretching out your body, elongating your body, and breathing through movement, whether it's Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga or some sort of conscious movement practice, some sort of movement exercise, walking, biking, some sort of movement. But there was a breath work aspect, there was a movement aspect, and then there was a sitting practice too, where you're just sort of sitting and looking over the thoughts. You talked about thoughts that were incongruent, that weren't in alignment with your inner self, maybe some things that happened in your past, maybe some trauma, maybe some perceptions that you had when you were 10 or 12 or 15 of your life then. And then maybe if you look back at it now at 40, 50, 60, you may not think about it the same way, although you may hold on to old memories and perceptions in that way. So trauma can affect the way we think and the things we speak about and the things we say about ourselves and how we feel about ourselves, about our self-worth, about our value, whether or not we're truly loving ourselves. This is really about loving the self.
It is. And it's really amazing because the more you're on this path, the more your traumas are revealed to you, because sometimes you have traumas that are stored in your body energetically or in your organs. You're not even aware that it's there. And the only way you can work through it is if it's brought to your attention. So you might be repeating certain lessons in your life. You might say, gosh, why do I have this same situation that's negative or
why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep attracting these type of boyfriends or girlfriends or circumstances with financial situations? Why is this repeating itself to me in my life again and again and again?
Right. So what I have found for myself, but I know that I'm also naturally very intuitive, especially with the work that I do. So this is easier for me, but it takes practice. And when I drop into meditation, I'm in that still place, and then I just ask for answers, the answers drop in. And when I ask, it'll show me exactly where in my life it's rooted, and what I can do to overcome it. And I do think everyone has that ability, but you just have to put it into practice so you can start listening to your higher self kind of speak to you, and tell you.
And the higher self speaks so quietly, doesn't it?
It does. You really have to listen.
You have to be quiet in order to hear it. You can't hear it when you've got a couple coffees in you or a bottle of wine into you. You can't hear it because you're deep into a filet mignon. You can't hear it any longer because you're thinking about your girlfriend so much that you can't hear the gentle sounds, the nudges of that inner you.
Yeah. Well, every religion across the board and every, over time has said, meditate on an empty stomach, pray on an empty stomach. Even the Catholic Church says, don't take Holy Communion, but, if you've had breakfast, go empty before you partake in all of these things. Every religion wants you to fast on certain holy days, because when you combine fasting with high, spiritual work, that's where the magic really starts to happen.
So spiritual thoughts, spiritual words, spiritual actions like fasting, like conscious movements like yoga, like qigong, like a meditation sitting practice. These are all aspects of a naturally healthy lifestyle that we have to kind of repeat. We have to kind of get into a ritual or a natural daily habit of doing these things in order for it to become our nature, and in order for it to lift our energy daily, and in order for us to even self-evaluate. So if I get up in the morning and do my breath work and I do my yoga or go for a walk and I do my sitting practice and I fill myself with positive affirmations and right thoughts and words and I start my day with that energy, then now as I carry on throughout my day, I can also witness how I'm being affected by things because I know how I was when I started. And now here I am. Why am I feeling like this? Because I wasn't feeling like this a moment ago when I was thinking and speaking about those higher things. Why is my energy dropping now? And you know it's because you've changed your attention. You've changed your focus. So it becomes a greater self-awareness. I start to become more aware of myself by practicing a ritual each and every day. And by practicing it, then I can also tweak it. Oh, you know what? Meditation was more valuable for me right now. I need to do more of that. Or yoga was really valuable for me right now. I need to do more of that. Or the breath work part was really, really important for me. I need to do more of that right now. Or I really think I need those affirmations. They were really valuable for me right now. Thinking about my goals, visualizing what I want, coming into the energy of what I'm most passionate about. That's what inspires me right now. And that changes as we practice. As we reevaluate our practice, we can make little changes to that little system, that ritual, that routine that we're falling into on a day-to-day basis.
That's good that you say that because we do change. It's really important not to be so like steadfast on this one thing. Oh, this is going to be my practice. And then if you don't follow through with it, you beat yourself up. So don't do that because that's not part of the path. The path is about letting yourself ebb and flow. For example, when you're fasting, you're going to have days where you're not eating anything. You're going to have days where you're eating a lot, right? Especially in the beginning. Or if you're just starting an exercise practice. And exercise, by the way, is really important, even hard exercise, more aggressive
exercise, low intensity exercise. We need all of these aspects in our life because they're all part of our lives.
Yeah, and it creates more energy, it creates more prana in the body.
You want to lift up the energy of the being physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Right. And we do change. So when you're starting these things, if you say, okay, this is my practice, and then you don't do it, instead of being hard on yourself, realize, oh, my body, my mind, whatever it is needing a rest right now. So I'm backing off and just allow it. So embrace the allowing of where you are and love yourself in that space. That's really important. And just forge on, just keep going forward and being really, treat yourself like you would treat a beloved child,
Best friend. Be your own best friend.
Your best friend. And most of us don't do that. Most of us are very harsh with our words and our thoughts. So it's about changing that mindset.
Being a little more gentle with the self, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the Pranic Lifestyle. I mean, I asked you what the Pranic Lifestyle is. I mean, it's kind of a big question. What is the Pranic Lifestyle? It's a habit. It's a behavior. It's a practice. It's a physical practice. It's a nutritional practice. It's a mindset practice. It's thoughts. It's words. It's a focus. It's an intention. It's a choice. It's a decision. I mean, all of these things are a part of the Pranic Lifestyle. It's a walk in a natural healing way. Changing your life, healing your life in a natural way.
Yeah. And this is why I love it so much. You asked in the very beginning, what do I like about it? And this is it. I see it as one big umbrella that just covers all these things, and it's everything I'm already interested in. So that's why when I first heard about it, when breatharianism first landed with me, because, you hear about it over the years, right? You're like, oh yeah, that's just people who say they don't eat. But I never put any thought to it because I wasn't ready for it. And it came in when I was ready. And a friend of mine said, hey, do you know that this is happening? And she put this book in my hands. It was a book from Jasmine Heen, right? Living on Light, I believe that it was. And as soon as I saw that and it just landed, every cell in my body just lit up. And I said, yes, this is for me. This is completely my path. I'm spiritually, energetically wired for this. And yeah, I'm going for it.
So it was a timing thing. Like it may have been around your circle before, but you weren't ready to receive it. It didn't stimulate you. And then all of a sudden, the right thought, the right word, the right time, and your body was ready to receive the message from Jaz Moheen, who is a pranic leader in the Pranic Society, a guru for 30 years or more already, living this lifestyle and teaching others to move in this way. So, I mean, this natural raw food lifestyle, pranic lifestyle, high energy lifestyle, the breatharian way, eating very little food, fasting, or eating no food at all. This has been going on. Socrates was talking about this. Hippocrates was talking about this. Plato was talking about these concepts and ideas. This natural healing idea is nothing new.
No, nothing new at all.
It's
In
always
fact,
been here.
the way we're eating now is new. You know, the way we're living our lives now with technology and busyness and our big cities, that's new. You know, we're going back to our true natural state. And I would like to just say a little bit more about what I was talking about, the timing of when all of this landed for me. I had done a lot of good, deep emotional healing. I had reached some new depths in my meditation and spiritual life, which was really profound. And I had also just healed myself from something very significant, from some chronic fatigue that I'd been having for years and some physical issues. And I did a lot of detox, and I did a really big candida cleanse, and I got my gut dysbiosis under control, and everything was much more balanced. So I had done all this work. I had just come off from this big cleanse. I just felt like I just kind of came out into the sunshine, you know, and energetically and everything. So in other words, those were blocks that I had removed, right? Physical illness as a block, you know, the health was a block, the emotional stuff was a block. So as I removed all that, I was in a much cleaner, clearer, high vibrational state. And so when that information came to me, I was primed for it. I was in resonance with it. And that's why every cell in my body.
You attracted it. You manifested it. You were at the frequency that was ready to receive it. And so
Yes.
You understood it at that point, and it made sense to you at that point, and it inspired you then. So At that point, you were ready to receive that information, and you took it and went with it. And this is it. Like, everyone can do this, but not everyone chooses to do this, and not everyone is ready to it. And you talked about a couple things there that I think I want to tease out some more. Is you had just done some detox, like detoxification. You know, how does it relate? Detoxification, vegan lifestyle, fasting, raw vegan, fruitarian, liquidarian. What does all of this mean? How does all of this relate to the pranic lifestyle? Why are they all talking about this stuff?
Well, because you really do have to detox your physical body to come in more alignment with your higher consciousness. And that's part of the path. It's a higher frequency. And it helps you remove the physical blocks that you're experiencing. That's why it's important. You can do detox with herbs or colon hydrotherapy, or just simply by doing periodic fasting. I've been doing something called juice feasting, which is where you're fasting but using juices, right? Your own fresh pressed juices. And I've been doing that ever since I discovered the raw food. Well, actually, I've been doing it since I was a kid. My dad kind of was a health nut and would raise me on smoothies and spirulina and things like that. So it's always been kind of part of my life. But when I got into raw food in 2004, I got really serious about doing periodic juice feasting in conjunction with colon hydrotherapy and things like that to cleanse my body. So I've been working on this for many years. The cleanse that I did specifically right before I found out about breatharianism was for candida, because I had a candida overgrowth and leaky gut syndrome, and it was causing a lot of issues for me physically, which included, like I said, the fatigue and foggy thinking, and it just, everything felt kind of damper down and dull in my life. So when I cleared that, it was like the light just went on. And so that's why it's important, because like you said earlier, if your frequency isn't matching this lifestyle, you can't do this lifestyle. You know, it won't even appeal to you to want to even start this lifestyle. So we're removing these blocks, and our bodies really are temples. I like to think of our body as the flute that the divine blows through. We are the instruments of God, of light, and the more we're clean, the more beautiful our music is, and we just share it with the world, and it's this gentle, loving flow. But I know in the energy cultivation, with the Qigong and everything else, we're also turning our bodies into antennas for prana, for the chi to come in, which
That chi energy, that love energy, it's all around us. It's within us, it's around us, and it's also omnipresent. So it's always here. So
always.
Within us, it's around us, and it's always there. So it's all the time in the present. It's
right.
Now. It's always in the now. So the breath is a big link to that. The breath is what's around us and within us. Water is a big link to that. The water is all around us and within us. Intention, thought, word, around us and within us. And we can take the energy, we can intend to take the energy in from the outside, or we can intend to take the energy in from the inside. And, right now in the world, there may be energies around you that are good. There may be energies around you that are not good. And you've got to discern whether you want to take that energy in from the outside, or if you want to sit with the energy that's perfect within you. And that's a choice. That's a decision. That's an attention. That's a focus, right? That's a change of focus to think about this rather than that.
Yeah, and I would suggest that if you're taking energy in, to do it in a natural environment, go out into nature and take in that energy,
Get out in the sun, get your feet on the ground if you can in nature.
Yeah, be with the water, be with the trees. If you can't do that, you can do it in your visualizations at home, because your body does not know the difference between an imagination and what's really happening. So you can just sit in meditation and visualize to your body and feeding yourselves. You can do that. I would also like to say that if you are out and about, instead of taking in the energy of all the people and places, because that can get really overwhelming, you don't necessarily want all of that energy in your field. It's better to radiate. And I'm always telling my Reiki students this, because a lot of times energy workers say, well, how do I shield and protect myself and all of that? So I don't take in too much, because that's something people who are very empathic deal with. And I always say it's not about shielding, it's about radiating. So we want to be radiating out that beautiful love. We want to be radiating out prana and
being with.
Just feeling it flow from you, so you can actually nourish people around you. That's really important.
Putting out a loving energy, being in your loving nature while you're out in it. So you may be busyness or chaos around you, but you're in your love space. You're in your highest frequency. You're in your best bit. You're in your spirit nature. You're in flow with your love being or your prana.
Right.
So now, is it that we have to become vegan?
Well, it's helpful. I highly suggest it. That is the diet of the future. I mean, it really is. I mean, our planet just can't sustain meat agriculture anymore, But aside from that, yes, I would suggest it highly. I even tell my Reiki students, I don't suggest they eat any particular way in their life, because it's their life. But I say, if you're going to come in and take a Reiki class from me, abstain from meat and dairy that day, because it allows you to feel the energy, because Reiki is very subtle. And when you're learning how to work with it, you have to really be able to tune in and feel it. And you want to dietarily put yourself in a state where you can feel it. So meat and dairy and a lot of sugar, caffeine, that kind of alcohol, that kind of stuff will keep you from really feeling those subtle energies. So I say, just abstain for this day. So
does this mean that we have to give up everything that's good and important and fun?
Well, I think feeling like you're in a bliss state all the time is good and important and fun.
So you
I think
don't have to give up everything that's fun in my life?
no, you're just, what will happen is what you think is fun is going to change. And that's part of the natural
As your
progression.
frequency comes up, as your vibration comes up, you may choose different things to be fun.
That's right. You know, I'll tell you, when I received my very first Reiki attunement, it shifted my energy so much that I can no longer eat meat again. And it wasn't even a conscious choice. And this is also part of the pranic path. See, that's what happens as we up level energetically, things just fall away and you just can't partake in it anymore. The desire is gone. It's no longer, and you are no longer a frequency match for that thing that you were doing. So your desire for it,
frequency rises, you start to want to forego or let go of things that were of lower frequency. So if you're picking up your frequency with your exercise or your Tai Chi or your yoga and your breath work and your intention and your thoughts and your words, if your frequency is going up because of this daily practice of meditation and you're doing this routine, you're getting into a ritual, your frequency starts to come up, and then you start to just let go of things. So it's not like you're so much forcing yourself to fast anymore, but that you're starting to just want those things less because you're engaging in these pranic lifestyle, natural healing practices on a day-to-day basis by getting up and going through your ritual. Whether, you know, it's the walking, it's the breath work, it's the thinking, it's the talking, it's all of those things that are coming together that creates a lifestyle that allows you to stay in your greatest space.
right? So as your energy lightens and becomes more refined, you want less, and you don't even have to think about it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to now give this up. No, it's not that. You just, I remember the moment I took a bite of a sandwich that had meat in it, and I just said, I just don't want this anymore. Like this is an animal, and I put it down, and that was it. I was done. Meat was done for me. So, and then from there, of course, it progressed, and you know, I'm totally vegan, of course. And when I do eat, it's only fruit and greens.
Now, at the same time, we don't want to say to people that aren't ready to give up meat yet that, hey, this isn't for you.
Well, it depends on where you are on your path. You know, a lot of people really want and need the meat right now, or they think they need it, right? I mean, we know that you don't need the meat anymore. And a lot of times if people want to give up the meat, but have a hard time transitioning, that they transition to a vegan diet and don't feel like they're getting everything they need. They feel weak.
That could
or
be
lightheaded.
psychological. That could be emotional.
Most likely it's an imbalance in the gut flora. Most likely that's what's
physical.
happening.
It could be physical. It could be emotional. It could be psychological. It's likely all three.
Right. And you have to do some, you know, removing of the blocks. Again, more cleansing.
So it's not going to happen overnight, is it, Shana?
Well, it depends. It could for some. For me, it did. And for others, it's a process, you know. Oh, well, I would have to say that when I did my Candida cleanse, that was a process. It took months of detox to get
reduce the yeast in your body, parasites in your body, fix the bacteria balances in your body, fix the hormone balances in your body. All of these things have to, you know, kind of be removed or corrected. You know, you have to heal the trauma emotion that's in your body. If you're feeling like a victim still, if you're talking about your victimness, your victimhood, that's low frequency thought and word, and that's going to hold you down. So you're going to have to move through all of that healing. That takes time. So, you know, the Pranic Lifestyle is a walk that where you may aspire to it overnight, you're probably not going to be overnight transitioned into a no food eating, no water drinking being. Like that's just not going to happen, right?
It's a long, beautiful, gentle process. And it's really important that you enjoy the journey and just don't always focus on the end goal, because there actually is no end goal. You are always developing. You know, even Ellie Thomas.
Expanding, growing. The universe is always expanding and growing.
Yeah, like Ellie Tom, he's not in the place where he's dealing with food and water right now, right? He's beyond that. But he every day I watch him grow, and he's always saying, "Wow, I feel amazing," and it just keeps getting better and better. So giving up the food is just part of that. That's one component. It's not the end goal. Though I know a lot of people really do want to give that piece up, and I get that, but it's really everything else. So I really want people who are listening to this to realize it's not just all about the fasting and the food. And if you put all your attention there, you're going to have a hard time on this path because it's everything else too.
You got to address the psychological bits. You've got to address the emotional bits. It's all of these things have to work through the healing to raise up in frequency, to raise up in vibration, in order to get to a place where you're more in tune with that higher frequency bit of yourself, that spirit bit, that soul bit, that pranic energy, that loving energy, that divine energy that's within us, that's always in a sort of flow. It's in a subtle, gentle flow, and we need to be able to find it and connect with it. Now, first thing in the morning, when you just wake up, you may be able to sense that flow a little bit more, or just before bed, you may be able to sense that flow a little bit more that's happening inside of your body. It's kind of that real gentle ease, that loving, peaceful ease, that feeling. You can feel it. It has a vibration. It has a very high vibration, and that's why it feels so good, right? So you can feel yourself into it first thing in the morning as you wake, when your mind is not so busy, it's not so agitated by food and stimulants and work and kids and problems. So first thing in the morning is a great time to really be conscious of thought and word and breath. At the end of the day is a very important time to be conscious of thought and word and breath as we wake, just before we go to bed. Those are like the bookends of our awakened state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are key times to program the mind. Subconscious programming needs to happen. A new program needs to be put into my day-to-day actions, behaviors, habits, for me to be constantly striving towards this higher bit of me daily.
Yes, yes. And the morning is such a beautiful time to do it because it's before everything gets going, you know. So if you can do it straight away and just put yourself in that state, it really does change the trajectory of your day. I mean, completely.
I think it's foundational to start your day with it.
Yeah. And pay attention to how food affects your meditations, because how you eat the night before will affect your state physically and energetically the next morning. So if you're having a hard time getting into meditation, or if you had anxiety, woke up with anxiety or anything like that, that could be your digestion actually working overtime with something that you've eaten the night before. And this is one reason why I'm a big advocate of intermittent fasting, where you're eating for smaller periods of time when you do eat during the day. Eating really early as your last meal and going to sleep empty, you know, lends itself to a calmer mind, more peaceful dreams, a better sleep, and a more balanced body when you wake up in the morning, so you can meditate easier.
So an earlier dinner and a later breakfast creates a smaller eating window in our day. We want our eating window to be as small as possible in our day, which allows for a longer time of emptiness daily. So if we can get 14 or 16 hours as a minimum, but if we can get 18 or 20 hours of emptiness into our day and eat in a 1 to 4 hour window, the smaller that eating window, the more that empty time, the more that healing time, the more that time where we're not affected by the physiology of the food. We're not in the throes of the foods that we've eaten, which is affecting our psychology, our hormones, our thoughts, our words, our actions, our feelings. So we want to get that food eating into once a day, or every other day, or every third day. If we can stretch out the time that we're influenced by the food, And then we're only influenced by the subtle promptings, the gentle energy of our spirit, of our soul, that prana energy.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of exactly what you're saying. But I would like to say that that's not the only path, because I know people are going to watch this and say, oh, that's what I have to do now. There are other ways of going there too. I actually entered the pranic path in a very different way. I focused on my meditation, my mind, my reprogramming of the mind, my Reiki, and my intention that, yes, this is the path I want. And I just paid attention. I continue to eat 3 meals a day, right? Raw, low fat, or no fat, vegan. That's what I was eating. And I just watched as my calorie needs decreased and decreased and decreased. And what I found was I was able to comfortably live on just 400 calories a day while exercising, fully functioning. So I wasn't doing any fasting per se. My calorie needs were just dropping. And then what happened was I moved into a place where I could start doing fasting and all of that. So my fasting days came after I realized I just needed less calories in general. And that's when I started playing with the fasting. So your avenue can take many different ways, different
So
routes.
moving to the raw food lifestyle does reduce the calories, right? Moving to a fruit lifestyle or a liquid lifestyle, a raw juices lifestyle, you're dropping your calories significantly, specifically saturated fats, trans fats, all of your animal fats, and the proteins. So those are the more dense bits of your nutrition. That's the most dense bits of your food. That's the lowest frequency foods. They're more dense. They require more saliva, more hydrochloric acid. They require more insulin to shuttle around. They require enzymes. They require work from the gallbladder. They require work from the kidney. All of these things in order to digest, and they take an awful lot of energy for you to break those bits apart. So if we can try to reduce those bits, or maybe if we have to have them still, get it to once a day, and then make the other meals during the day live and raw food. So let's try to keep the cooked and processed foods as minuscule as we can in our lives. We want to shrink down the dead, processed, low density, low frequency bits of ourself. We want to focus on the high frequency, high energy bits of ourself. We want to be in a higher space. We want to come into our higher self, right?
Yeah, I would really highly suggest anyone serious about this path, consider trying going fully raw. It's really, really helpful. If you can transition to going all raw, and then from there, maybe dropping the fats and going, low fat raw, where you're just eating fruits and greens, because that's where the miracles start. There's a difference between eating raw foods and having some cooked, even if it's a little bit, and between that and 100% raw, it's night and day. Even if you're just eating 10%
raw is magical. Absolutely. And
it's
like
magic.
you said, everyone's at different places though, right? Some people just don't really want to let go of the meat yet. And some people aren't ready to let go of the dairy yet. So, and everyone's at a different place, right? So we want to say this lifestyle is for people that are still, nourishing themselves with meat and dairy. You can still be involved in this lifestyle, maybe incorporate fasting a little bit more, or moving to more raw food and fruitarian style eating, where you're living mostly on higher frequency foods all of the time. But then maybe you can eat more often, because those foods aren't affecting your body as much, aren't bringing down your frequency as much, because those foods aren't as heavy, those foods aren't as dense, and those foods aren't as much work on the human physiology. So they don't drain our energy as much.
Yeah, they're more pranic. But yeah, it's true. I mean, there's so many different paths. I have a friend of mine who isn't raw, and I'm not even sure if she's vegan. I don't know. But all I do know is that she's a meditator, and she has increased and deepened her meditations. And what's happened with her is she just naturally wants less food, which is what was happening to me, right? I was doing the no fat, all raw diet, meditating and lowering my calories. She's just eating whatever she wants. and is able to lower calories. She's not trying to be a breatharian. She doesn't even know what breatharianism is. It wasn't until she met Ellie Tom and was talking with him, and she thought it, you know, it all clicked for her, because she said, wow, I thought there was something wrong with me because I just have not been eating, and I didn't know why. But now that I've met you and I discovered all of this, I realized, oh, this is just naturally part of the path, and I'm becoming more chronic without even knowing it.
This is just what happens. And so for somebody that has some emotional traumas, they may be still eating some heavier foods, or for somebody that's really working many hours or really in a physical job, they may still be eating certain foods, or, you know, so it depends what frequency you currently are at and what level of health you currently are at. Some people that are doing like marathons and long distance running, and, you know, they're breathing a lot, they're moving a lot of prana through them just from, you know, engaging in that sort of training. I've found that some people that live like that, you know, are able to connect to the pranic field, even though they're still eating heavier foods, because they're so involved in the physical aspect of moving and breathing. So they can still enter into the pranic lifestyle. So you don't have to give up meat. You know, I don't want to say you have to give up meat, but I think we need to reduce the dense foods, right? We want to reduce the dense foods. So we're trending towards lighter foods. And as we step into the pranic lifestyle, you'll find that the desire to have those things, or the need and requirement for those things, will come down.
Yeah. And this is our future, you know, humanity on this planet. It's our future. It really is. I mean, we're headed towards becoming more pranic. And I know there's just, you know, it's not widely mainstream, well-known, you know, breatharianism right now, but it's growing really rapidly. And because it just feels so good, and it's our perfect state, and, you know, life is just so much better on so many different levels, you know, with this diet. It's amazing. Like, life is amazing, and we should be having miracles every day of our life. Like, that should be our natural state of being, you know. And when you're in this path, it's like everything's so abundant. What you think about, you create, and you're really mindful of the energies. And it's just one of the most beautiful lifestyles I've ever personally experienced. And I've experienced so many different things in my life. And this just takes all of it into one state, and you become your best.
This is the pranic lifestyle. This is the vegan lifestyle, the raw food vegan lifestyle. This is the fruitarian lifestyle. This is the liquidarian lifestyle. This is the spiritual lifestyle. You know, it's stepping into your higher self, stepping into your best self. It's a high frequency. I like to call it a high vibe life, getting into a high vibe life. Lifestyle design, creating the life of your dreams, stepping into your very best, your absolute best self, right? You know, it can be confusing because, you know, are you talking to weight loss, or you're talking to healing? It's both. It's all of them. It's your best self. Your very best self is fit and lean and loving and free and inspired and happy, right? I mean,
happy.
The soul, right? All of those are characteristics of our spirit.
Yeah.
You know, parts and aspects of our inner being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like going back to the beauty of our youth when we were young and in the moment, and everything was happy and wondrous, you know, like going back to that stage, just kind of everything else falls away, and we become more aligned with who we are, and who we are is amazing. We are amazing beings. You know, we're just the things we can create and do, and yeah, there's just so much happiness. I can't even words cannot fully express. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you so much for your time today, Shana.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really wonderful to talk with you, and we covered such good ground. So thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad to be on the same page with you. I'm glad to know you and now have had a conversation with you. I'm glad we've had an opportunity to share. Hopefully we can do it again. Maybe in another 6 months or so, we'll touch base and talk prana and talk fasting and talk about the loving energy that's within all of us and available to every single one of us.
Perfect. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Awesome. See you again soon.
See you.